Hey everybody, we are live here on CNY Community Connections, and today I am here with Ray Manassa. Ray, you are the Chief Marketing Officer.
Yes.
I want to say operator, I don't know why, but officer with United Way Central New York. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So we've talked a couple different times. One thing you never told me, which I learned when you answered some questions for me, is you're originally from Liverpool?
I am. I grew up in Liverpool, then attended Syracuse University, and spent most of my career here in Syracuse.
Nice. So what kind of led you into this leadership position with United Way?
I'd say it started from career. I came out of college with an English degree and said, I don't know what I'm doing here. So
I have that same degree, for the record.
Yeah,
so
I thought I was going to be a teacher, determined after doing some time in education that probably wasn't the route for me. And then went to a small agency and said I'd like to become a copywriter, and they gave me a shot, and then kept going with it. Spent about 10 years working with Clear Channel Communications, which is now iHeartMedia, writing commercials, voicing and directing for basically clients of 7 radio stations here in town. I left for 3 years, went to Katz Media down in New York, and worked with national clients on radio and digital campaigns and development. And then we got married, my wife and I, and she said, let's go back to Syracuse. So we came back, and, in my time with Clear Channel, a big push of it was working with nonprofits, helping them develop communication strategies, helping them to grow from the ground up. And it was always a passion. And so I think, I reached a point in my career when I said, I've sold enough pizzas, I've probably sold enough cars. This is a nice time for me to kind of transition into trying to help nonprofits. And United Way is something that I always believed in. From my earliest days of, pushing carts at Wegmans and understanding what the United Way campaign was, to working with United Way, in small pieces when I was at Clear Channel or at iHeart. Realizing that, nonprofits a lot of times don't have the same bandwidth for being able to talk about themselves or make their messages, and using some of my skills to try and help, not just the United Way brand, but as many people as possible.
That is, it's funny how when you mentioned Wegmans, obviously, Wegmans is a big supporter of United Way. That all through your life, it was kind of like a trend, and then now you're sitting here kind of representing them. So thank you.
I think everyone in Syracuse knows that everything always comes back to Wegmans. So.
So I'm from Pittsburgh. We did not have a Wegmans. I was extremely excited the first time I went to DeWitt, and I walked in this store I never heard of, and I was in awe of the Wegmans. So
it's an experience.
It is. It is an experience. So, I had asked you a lot of questions the first time we met because, I was a teacher for a little while, came up to New York and kind of bounced around until I got into real estate. And I learned, the reason I like this podcast is because I learned a lot about businesses and nonprofits. And I fell in love with the amount of nonprofits and the amount of caring that people have behind it. But I really didn't understand, for full disclosure, what United Way did. Like, I didn't know if they had their own mission of helping like one core thing, like my friend Sheila with Living with Dementia has. But really, you guys help a lot of people.
And it's evolved. I mean, any organization, we've celebrated our 100th year. We're over 100 years in Central New York. And if you go back to the roots of it, where it really started, you look at the Monopoly board and you see the community chest. That was what United Way was at its time. It was people all saying, we're going to pool our money together to try to answer the need. It was a lot. We don't have the communication channels we have now. We didn't have, ways of being able to share messages and explain things and make digital payments. And you couldn't Zelle or PayPal or Venmo somebody to help. So largely it was a lot of in-person. The United Way, or at the time the Community Chest, and that evolution of that has been to say, if you have something to offer, if you have a couple bucks to throw in, this is a way to do it united, and then we can try to serve the most need in the community. And as time has gone on, it's been largely through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. People knew United Way. The ones who knew it the best were workplace campaigns. That was really somebody. If you ask someone in the 80s, they'd probably say United Way is something I do at work.
Okay.
That I make a donation through my paycheck, and we have a company drive, and we've had great companies like Wegmans and, and Carrier and many that have been here. We've also seen, over the time, we all know that industries have changed.
Correct.
So as those industries have gone, those donations have also gone away. So, a new venture, closing basically meant $500,000 overnight just disappeared.
Well, and we talk about, you mentioned everything changes, and you kind of have to evolve and change and ebb and flow with this stuff. But but you did give me an opportunity for my T-shirt, which says "United We Do More,"
Yes.
and that really that kind of sums up what United Way is, because you're, like you said, you're pulling everything together.
Yep.
With the companies and that kind of fading away. What are some of the other things you guys do out in the community to get your name out there? Because, like you said, there's not those huge companies anymore. I mean, they're here, but
yeah, I think we are still. I mean, we're still in a great place in terms of companies and their support and sponsorships that come from companies and events that we have that many companies are sponsoring. But if you think about, the connection to individuals and to people outside of a workplace, one of those drivers would be community drives, doing something like our care package drive, when we collect personal care items that are at Wegmans donation points for over a month every fall. And last year we created almost 2,000 care packages.
oh my gosh.
So that means, you might say, oh, okay, it's a shampoo or it's a toothpaste. It's not a big deal.
But it is.
It is. When
Yeah.
somebody is really in need, this is, the difference between I'm making a decision on I'm buying this, and you've seen, if a deodorant costs $5 now and our shampoo costs $6 or $7, and you start saying, am I going to pay the bill? Am I going to get food? Where am I going to go? This is one of the last things I'm thinking about.
Right.
So it is a small thing, but it's a way for an individual to say, I'm going to give a little bit. The CNY book drive that we do for Children's Book Drive at the Christmas Bureau with the Salvation Army every year, it's a guarantee that every child that's passing through that Christmas Bureau, it turns out to be almost 6,000 kids, will receive a new book.
Nice.
And to someone to say, well, I can get a book from the library. It's a little different on Christmas to be able to say, this is a book that's mine.
Right, because then you can read in it. You can. I have a daughter who likes to highlight like parts that she likes. You can't do that. I mean, we learned that the hard way. You can't do that at a library book. We now own that book, just so you know. But that is a big deal, you know.
And these are small things that we look at the community and we talk about our community of people that Golden Bee Bookshop in the village of Liverpool does an incredible drive, and it's one of those ways to kind of communicate to people that you can walk in there and buy this book. It'll support the local shop. It will also make this impact in terms of what kid in this community is going to get that book that you've given.
Yeah, driving back to the word united,
Yep.
right? Everybody doing it together. What are some of the? I know you have a huge event coming up, actually, August 6th.
So we have a platform called VolunteerCNY, which, if you're watching and you're a nonprofit, a community organization, VolunteerCNY year-round is a platform for anyone to post up needs and then get connected to volunteers. So we're driving volunteers to that digital platform to go in and say, you know what, I have a skill that I want to offer. I have, or I'm just looking for a couple hours, or I'm looking for a full day, or I want my whole team or company or family to go and do something together. You can search through that digital platform, find a need, and say, I want to do that, register and go.
I do have a question on that.
Yep.
I apologize. I thought about it one other time we were talking. When it comes to the high school kids and they need their community hours, is that a place they can go?
Absolutely.
Because that's a problem sometimes people have, is they're calling and saying, where can my kid find someplace? And they have like a set weekend or something. And you probably always have something going on the website for some organization.
There are ongoing constant needs. There are places like the Samaritan Center where there's, we'll call it a soup kitchen. They are doing food service almost every day. They are always looking for volunteers. It's a constant, and it's great that there are companies who will say, I'm pledging, we're going to be there at least once a month or once a week. But it's a constant stream of, we need to prepare food and have that ready for people.
Yeah.
And really to get back to what you were going for with the Day of Caring, the Day of Caring is, if you get to the heart of it, when we brought it back 5 years ago, we were in the 100th anniversary. We were coming out of COVID, and we found in the archives of, everything that we had over these 100 years was that there was a thing called the Days of Caring for United Way that used to be people. It was more towards the 80s and 90s, but they were out in the community doing volunteer service. At the time, they didn't have the same digital tools to be able to kind of post those needs. It was a lot of phone calls and cards, and it probably got to be
A lot. Yeah.
But with this digital platform, we said we can relaunch this and we can try to make a community-wide day that's going to have an impact, and it's also going to kind of re-energize people's attitudes around volunteering and connecting with nonprofits. And that has grown now to where last year it was over 1,300 people volunteered in one day. It's always the first Thursday in August. Last year was over 100 projects were completed. And we look at, it's not just you went and landscaped at that nonprofit. You probably talked to that nonprofit. You got to understand what it is they do. What do their needs look like? And hopefully you didn't only become a volunteer for one day. Maybe you become a fan, you become an advocate, you become a donor, you become a supporter. You understand their mission because you went and lived it for a portion of time.
Yeah. I can definitely see how that would be huge. And a lot of times there are companies, we talked about my company, looking to get out and do things together in the community, because we saw that people go home, they go to the television, they go to their computer, they get on social media. Yeah. We do want to get out and do things. We talked a few times about the different ways generations give. Can we hit on that a little bit?
Well, I'd say, starting with the connection to volunteering is that, we do a report every year. Drive Research is a local firm, does great work all over the country, and they have donated the research every year for the state of caring. And from the state of caring, we get a lot of data that talks about what do people in Central New York believe in, what do they want to give to, what do they consider to be, the nonprofits of their biggest, what are they most concerned about? Across the board, food is always a high number. Housing is always an issue, but generationally, we also see that, in younger generations, they want to have a volunteer experience. They want to experience the agency. They want to experience the mission. Volunteering is a huge component of that. And it's also their connection to the community because they are not in the same position for having sort of, the legacy media. I came from, radio in a time when people listened in greater numbers to the same things.
Yeah.
Or you have that, the water cooler conversation. We all watched the same things. We all adjusted. We all got the same pieces around us. And now as we've been more fractured and we don't kind of consume the same stories, or maybe don't connect as much on the local basis, that connection of you understanding your local community and you understanding what local need looks like has to be a one-to-one, or it's going to have to be something that you discover on social media and for some reason you followed them. And the Day of Caring elevates everyone on social media to say, this company went here, and maybe you didn't know this before, but then you start to go, what does Tiny Home do? Oh, yeah. I haven't seen them before, and I see that, this company is here spending the day with them, that Empower is there, and they're spending, their entire team is doing something. What does this nonprofit do? So anything that we can do to, this is on a marketing side, but elevate the nonprofit and have them be seen by more people, that's, hopefully in their bottom line, it's going to have an effect in terms of, their followers, their fans, their supporters, their donors.
And I'm sure you've thought of this because you're actually a marketer, and I just market every once in a while. But I had a thought when you were talking about the fact that, the world is changing. You have to kind of change with it. And I know United Way has done a lot with financially helping people, obviously with volunteers. But you just hit another key thing. Sometimes it's just the awareness. And then I feel like in today's society, everything is about what are they seeing, what are they seeing? And you hit them where they are, which is social media. And nonprofits, a lot of times, they don't have the ability or the time or the resources to really push out. It's not as expensive as radio or something, but they don't have the time pushed out. So, that's another way that you're really helping the community.
And you're always trying to evolve. We look at, the social media side of things is also, our job is to talk about the nonprofits, it's to talk about need, it's to talk about trying to drive someone into volunteering or to being a donor or being a supporter or audiences are always shifting. We don't know exactly who we're talking to every time. So, we're trying to look at the channels and say, what is having an effect here? But it's also empowering people. Organic is the best.
Oh, absolutely.
And to empower people to say, I want to share this message. I love when people will tag us into something, or they'll tag the nonprofit in and say, I just had the greatest experience at X. Here's why I'm doing an individual piece for, this nonprofit, or I'm trying to support this different cause, or I'm participating in this drive. You individually are going to do better. Your piece is going to get there. You're not my brand. You're not a company. It's you just speaking from the heart.
Yeah.
And those really register.
They get me all the time with the hook, did you know? And then I'm like, I don't know, did I know? And then they'll start talking, did you know this nonprofit, or did you know that this was going on in the community, or did you know? That's the hook. If you want to get me to watch your stuff, start off with, did you know? And then I want to know. So, so I'll watch it. How many people do you think you have signed up so far for?
Our volunteer office is probably not going to be happy with me, but I'm going to say I believe we're over 1,000.
Holy cow! Nice.
So it's one of those great pieces that we've reached a point now where companies will say, when is it being launched? When can we go on? I mean, it's almost like the registration opens and there's this rush for people who are looking for, I want to try this one. I want to go here. I want to do that. And the fun thing is that there's great things being added all the time. We will take more needs. Promise, there's no guarantee that we're going to have everyone be able to fulfill every need. But if you have not put it up as an agency yet, you can still put your need out there. And even if it's just for you to be able to say, I know I have a core group of people who might do this. Sometimes it's that lead for them to say, oh, for the Day of Caring, we're doing this. We want to, maybe we've been talking about having a day where people could come in and help us paint the X room, right, or to help us landscape, or, we really would love to have people be able to weed this, entire walkway here. Those kind of things are, maybe you post that up and then you just know that you have a pool of people you're going to go to. The Day of Caring can be that trigger to say, here's why we're doing it. Come on out for us this day.
Well, and I know for me, I tell people you have to get it on the calendar. Once it's on my calendar, then I'll do it. Otherwise, it's like I just went and played bingo at Turning Stone with my girl. I did not win, but we'd been talking about it for almost 6 or 7 months. And I finally told her, I'm like, you got to give me a day.
Yeah.
You give me a day, it's on the calendar and I'm there. And that's the, in a more fun way of not winning at bingo. At least when I'm going to Day of Caring, I know I'm fulfilling something, know. I mean, I did have fun at bingo, but I just want to yell it one time. Just one time.
You can yell bingo at Day of Caring if
oh, you know what? I might yell bingo at Day of Caring. That's kind of fun. You'll see it on social media because I will do it now.
Awesome.
So one thing about, and I know there's no mural this year, but we were talking about behind the most. Yep. There was once. I just want to show the video. I have it on my computer. Okay. But can you talk a little bit about that while I play it on the screen?
Sure.
It was absolutely amazing. You were right. Nice. I was in awe.
So Stay Fresh Design, fantastic firm that is down in the Delvin Gallery down in Syracuse. Tommy and Stay Fresh have, for the last 3 years, donated a mural. So if you really think about this, I mean, this is one of the qualities is that to be a volunteer, it means that you are volunteering some service or you're giving yourself to go out and pull weeds or to landscape or to paint or to do these things. It also could be that you're volunteering your skill. And in this case, it was, Tommy 3 years ago, saying, I could, I saw a blank wall it was Huntington Family Centers down in the near west side. We saw a blank wall and said, what could we do there? And they said, well, I mean, you're going to be here because Bridge Street does a live broadcast every year. So I called Tommy and said, can we get a mural? And he said, do you have any idea what that takes? And I said, I do not. So thankfully, Tommy has done a number of murals and we went through the city, got approval, get everything we had to. And he donated the design and installation of that mural. Purcell's donated all the paint.
Nice.
We had a lift that year donated by Hannah Hoyt. And then for the last 3 years, it's been, so in year 2, it was at a Tiny Home for Good. We were doing a Bridge Street broadcast from Tiny Home with Empower was the sponsor there. And we had a mural done on the side of Tiny Home that says, let's build the future.
Oh, nice.
And as you're coming down the street, you can see that on there. And then,
can I just plug, they do a walk every Tuesday, Tiny Homes for Good. And the Realtor Association, we're going on August 4th, and I am so looking forward to it. So now I'm going to look for that mural too.
Right on the side. On the other side is a tiny home logo. On the other side is their mural that was painted. And then the one that you just showed is for the Museum of Science and Technology, right in Armory Square. I'll say it was the most ambitious.
Did you see how long it was? Those of you that can see the podcast, it's amazing.
450 feet of paint.
Wow.
I said, Tommy, are we sure? And he said, I got it. It was hundreds of hours that he donated to do this piece. I think after this, we said, okay, we're taking a break for a year. It was the most ambitious. But if you look at, what's being done with, people will say, oh, this mural is going to cost, $60,000, $80,000. Here's what it's going to be. Here's how it's going to go. This is the longest mural in Syracuse. It's 450 feet. It was thousands of dollars worth of paint donated by Purcell's, hundreds of hours donated by Tommy Lincoln. There was no cost. The cost was a few foam rollers, because on the day of caring, we had 100 and something volunteers who came down and basically did paint by numbers. They were following Tommy's direction, filling in those pieces. But volunteers helped to create that mural. Volunteers designed it and installed it. And it really gets back to, our campaign theme is contribute. That you don't have to have a lot of money, you don't have to have a lot of time, but you could use your skill and say, I'm going to contribute this piece. I want to beautify this. I want to elevate the most and have people be able to know, this mural is dedicated to STEAM. It's dedicated to inspiring kids. It's got these astronauts. It's got Syracuse inventions. It's got all these beautiful things. And I will tell you that kids come around the corner from the most and they just light up.
Oh, yeah.
Because they see this and go, oh my.
I did, and I'm not a kid.
And it's a surprise, because you'll just, maybe you're on the way to Possibilities and you parked over here, but if you drive around the most, you just go, oh my God, this is enormous. And why would someone do it? And it's like, because we're trying to inspire kids. We're trying to raise the visibility for the most. That was a wall that sat behind there for a long time that just, could use a touch up of something. And now it sings. It
definitely stands out. If somebody wants to participate in Day of Caring this year, can you still sign up for it, or is there a cutoff?
VolunteerCNY.org. You're going to go on there. There is a button you're going to find for Day of Caring. You'll get into it, and there will be a time where you're going to need to say, okay, we're going to register. I need to make an account. That's just so that we can also communicate with the nonprofits, because one of the only holdups for nonprofits would be that they have to have someone who can also facilitate. They can coordinate the problem. So completing that form, or following a link, and going to what their site might be. Like in the case of, we have a blood drive for the Red Cross, because again, it's a way to contribute. It's another form of volunteering. They're going to ask you to go through their form, because it's from a technical side, you need to complete a couple of pieces there. But it really is take a few minutes, go through, find a need. Maybe you find a nonprofit you've never found before. Maybe you find an agency that you didn't know why it was going to register, but you learned something about them. And if you can't make it to the Day of Caring, still go on, see who's up there, see what their needs are. Maybe there's something else that you can do for them. I mean, I think one of the best things is when somebody walked into, there's a nonprofit that used to be in the village of Liverpool called Ophelia's Place.
Oh, yes.
And, Mary Ellen, the
wonderful woman. Yes.
Wonderful woman.
Yes.
My wife's aunt. But for a long time worked with Ophelia's Place. And at the time they were looking for people to come in and help with a clean out, some stuff in the basement and pieces there at Cafe 407. And in conversation, someone said, well, we got to have help with the website. And someone said, I'm happy to do this, what we're doing today, and do this cleanup, but I make websites. Like, I can help with this. When you start to think of your way to contribute and your way to volunteer is, maybe it's not always in the form of picking up a paintbrush or grabbing a rake. It could also be that you just say to someone, I can help.
I know how to do that.
I've got the skill for that. As a marketing person, or as an accountant, or as a who knows what,
Well, just getting out in the community and having conversations. That's why I tell my kids all the time. I said, if you stay in your room, you're not going to learn any more than what's in the books or in that classroom. But you have a conversation with somebody, and they work in a public place locally, and they come home and tell me stuff, all the time, or they see people helping other people. Like, you have to get out and get involved. And I do know, for some people it is hard to give financial donation. but a lot of people give time.
Yeah.
And, there was a point in my life where I didn't have the funds, but I love being part of the community. And that's actually why I joined the Baldwinsville Rotary Club, because they give back a lot.
Yeah.
So I was able to give back, and luckily the years have been nicer to me, and I never lost that. Like the feeling that you get from volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to say I never volunteered, more than 10, 15 years ago, but not to the point where you actually dive in and you meet people and you feel the difference you're making.
Yeah.
And then you almost get like I don't know, you just want to go back and do it more and meet different people.
Giving feels good.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And it's, you may forget, or you may just say, I got caught up in other stuff and I haven't had time, and I know I'm still being a good person, and you are.
Mm-hmm.
And, but there's something about the tangible piece that you can feel, and that what effect this has had, that really, I think of, all the stuff when we talk about social media. I mean, people watch videos of, the guy who goes and, does the lawn for overgrown house.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, and you're like, it's the dopamine of I'm watching this and look how the transformation happened and it felt good. And you're like, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't always have to be at that state. Sometimes it's about, and this is not a United Way thing, but it's people helping their neighbors. It's people helping their community and pitching in. Like, it's asking those questions. Do you need help? Like,
mm-hmm.
that we hope is, something that comes out of VolunteerCNY or Day of Caring or anything with United Way, is that you are thinking about the people around you and what can you do to help.
I mean, that's kind of a nice way as we like kind of tailor down. Is there anything from United Way standpoint that you think, as far as messaging or whatever you want to get out to people that are listening to us, or that maybe are trying to find a different way to give back or to learn about you guys?
I think it's, you can follow us on social, you can, look at the website, but, I'd say if you watch some of the videos or you saw some of the campaign or some of the pieces that are out there, one of the things that we have stressed is the ability to contribute, and to find something. And, I think of like the story of Jaleel Campbell, local artist, illustrator, and a leader of a group called, I'm going to blank here, but it's a crochet club. And they were, as a group, crocheting hats to put into our Share the Warmth drive.
Oh, nice.
That then get distributed through the MLK Day of Service. And they were just doing this because they said, we as crocheters, we want to make these hats and we know they're going to go somewhere good. So they were just putting them into the bin. Core Development runs along with Community Bank, has bins at other locations. And then there's a number of retail locations who all say, give us a bin. And they were just dropping this bag of homemade hats, almost 100 of these hats in there. And we're like, what? Who has made all of these things? And it's one of those cases where you'd say, he was just doing this because he knew it was good. He knew it was going to go to a good place and didn't need to have credit for it. Mm-hmm. Since then, now it's been one of those things that, he has a 12-hour full day crochet-a-thon, and the Off the Hook Crochet Club gets together, and for 12 hours, they just make hats, and they make hundreds of hats. And it is an opportunity to take that thing that you just know, I want to do this, I want to offer this. It doesn't always have to be advertised. It could just be you do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. But when you discover that your skill, your little hobby, your little piece could mean something to someone, that's where you start to feel it.
Oh, and when you say they all get together, there's that sense of community again.
Oh, it's great.
Right.
I mean, and the room is just, it's alive. It's just wonderful to be in there. And, I can be there. I can document it. I will not crochet a thing.
No.
There's been an attempt to show me, but it's not my skill set. It's not going to happen. So.
No, I can relate to that as well. It's not something I can do. I did attempt for a Christmas present for my mom one time, and it did not. She loved it because she was my mom, but she's the only one that would. Well, I thank you for being here today. I'm hoping you guys that are listening kind of get a better idea of what United Way does for our community. And then even if it just gets your brain thinking, what are ways that you can give back, or, even looking into what nonprofits we have, because we have so many here in Central New York. So, but thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.